So welcome everybody. You probably all know who I am, but just in case you don't, I am Dr. Stephen Genther. I'm the other chiropractor here if you didn't already know me. And tonight we're going to talk about the safety pin cycle. Before we get into that, you all have your safety pins, yes?
Yes.
Don't poke yourselves with them. It's not a magic trick. You can poke yourself in the finger. I heard you. So this is a picture. Doctor actually corrected me. I actually thought it was from one of our hikes, but it looks very familiar to one of our hikes. Two obvious different roads. So the big part of the reason that I teach classes is because helping people learn how to be healthier is more important than anything else that we could possibly do all day long in our office. Yes, the adjustments are essential to helping you reconnect your body, and we're going to talk about that more tonight, but if we don't help you learn healthier lifestyle habits, then you're going to end up right back in the same spot. So this is a perfect analogy for which road are you taking in life, or which path. Are you going to take the path that looks like it might be a little harder, a little more difficult, or are you going to stay on the easy side?
Stairs.
You're going to take the stairs? Awesome. Anybody else?
Elevator.
Elevator? There's no elevator there.
Or anything outside the box.
So, for the hike that this looked very much like that Dr. Ash and I did, it was actually in upstate New York near her parents' house. It was a couple of different waterfalls. And we opted to go on the higher road because even though it was a little bit more effort, it was absolutely worth it. It was actually a giant loop, so we came back on the lower one, but on the higher one we could actually see the river the entire time. We got to see a lot more of the mountains, the foliage, all the good stuff. Where the lower road, we were just surrounded by trees and couldn't really see anything. So our life is exactly the same way. Are we going to put the little bit of extra effort in to make better health style choices once we learn what they are? Or are we going to stay on the lower road and just hope the best happens and hope we see all the fun things as they go by? For me, being able to help people express their ability to get lost in the experience of life is incredibly important. Some of my favorite memories in life were times that I got completely lost, had no idea where we were. One time was in the Grand Canyon. I knew we were in the Grand Canyon because it's big. But we hiked 2 miles more in than we were supposed to, which means we had to hike 2 miles more out. It only goes down, it only goes up, so that was a little bit tricky. But anyway, still the trickier version was still the more valuable version. Uh-oh. There we go. So our safety pins. So the reason everybody has a safety pin, and I have a giant version over on the wall, is going to become readily apparent pretty quickly. But think about a light bulb and a light switch. What happens when you turn the light switch off? The light goes out, right? What happens when you turn it on? The light comes on. That seems like a pretty easy, everybody can connect to that. We all have electricity in our houses. So when you turn the light switch on, it's just like if everybody wants to open their safety pin. Okay, mine now. So turning the light switch off, essentially, you're disconnected. When you turn the light switch on, you reconnect. And the reason why this is a great analogy to the way that our body works is if the top of that light switch or the top of that circuit is our brain, and the bottom is any one of the 100 trillion cells that we have in our body, if they're connected, they work really, really well. If you disconnect them, just like turning that light off, they can't work so well. So Dr. Ash and I over the weekend actually did some updating to our room, and we put in some blackout curtains. I stumble around like an idiot because I can't see anything now. So essentially, that is disconnected, so I can't see where I'm supposed to go. It's just like trying to walk through a room that has no light in it. You're going to trip, you're going to fall because you're not getting that great communication. So Thomas Edison, who's actually the guy who invented the light bulb, that's why we talked about that, one of his great quotes is, "The doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will interest his patients in the care of the human frame, in diet, and in the cause of prevention of disease." Does that sound familiar to anybody? So that was before chiropractors were around, but to me that sounds exactly like what I do as a chiropractor. Because the medication essentially, why it is essential at times, why it does save lives, and it has saved my own life before, but it's like taking that lower road on that path because you're just going to kind of scoot through life and you might miss some of those great adventures that you could have had. Whereas if we interest in helping you learn and teach you how to actually be healthier, you can be more connected to your source and you have a much greater and more abundant life. So what are some of the ways that we can actually break that cycle, break that safety pin? Well, the first one that we're going to talk about tonight should be familiar to everybody because it's the first thing that we started talking about on the second day that you're all here as patients, and that's gravity. Because gravity is something that's essential to all parts of life, and we all need it because if we didn't have it, we would float away, and that wouldn't be fun for anybody. So when we have a straight and strong spine, gravity pushes down on it, it doesn't break it down. It's designed to support that, and the discs are actually designed to take some of those impacts of that. But if we have a posturally weakened spine, if we have poor posture, we push down on that same spine, it causes it to break down even more. So the reason why we start with gravity is that is one of the top things that everybody has to deal with. And anyone who has a posturally weakened spine or has areas that aren't working the way they're supposed to in their body, they're going to break down faster, they're going to age faster than they're designed to. So how about trips, falls, and accidents? So that's kind of a straightforward one. A lot of you actually found your way here because you had a trip, fall, or accident along the way, whether it was recently or years ago, and it caused an ache, a pain, it caused something to not work right, or maybe you've been walking with a limp for 15 or 20 years and it happened to go away once you started getting adjusted. So that's pretty easy to see how that could cause a break in that cycle. How about taking stress too seriously? Nobody does that here, right? Nobody has tight shoulders. They don't walk around like this all day. Nobody? Okay, so it's just me. I stress out sometimes and you all got it. So I can learn something from you guys, thank you. So taking stress too seriously can literally cause subluxations in your body. We have a set of muscles in our body that are the only ones that are directly told what to do by a nerve that comes directly out of our brain. The rest are connected through the spinal cord. And it's the muscles that are actually right at the top of our shoulders. That's why when people get stressed out, they start to go like this. And when they're stressed out for a long time, they feel like they can never put their shoulders down because the body's response to that is to go into essentially a fight or flight and be ready to go. So it tightens those muscles up, and you can't even consciously realize it's happening because that nerve comes directly out of your brain. It bypasses the spinal cord, everything else. The only two muscles it goes to are the ones right at the top there. How about bad posture? Everybody's got great posture. A couple of you just sat up better. So we kind of talked about that with gravity. If you have bad posture, whether it's coming from subluxations that don't allow you to have proper posture, or when you sit at work all day, it just doesn't, you have bad posture, you lean, you shrug, whatever it happens to be. So if your mom told you to stand up straight, do it. It's actually better for you. The worse posture you have, that actually decreases the function of everything in your entire body, not just the communication between your brain and your body. So how about sitting all day? Who does that? So a couple of you get to sit all day.
At school.
You get to sit all day at school. So maybe one day what would be really cool is if the schools actually had standing desks. We're actually talking about this with one of our teachers who comes in and said, well, that would be great. And kids actually learn better when they're standing all day. Their brains work better. She said, some of them can't stand next to me for 5 minutes before they get tired. How crazy is that? The kids coming up today can't even stand on their feet for 5 minutes without complaining about being tired. I know you guys can do it because when you come in, you do that. But the average child out there can't stand for more than 5 minutes, so they sit all day. Sitting is actually the #1 worst position for your spine. When you sit, it actually increases the stress on your spine by somewhere between 200 and 1,600 pounds, depending on how you're sitting. While I'm standing here right now, on average, I have about 80 pounds of stress on my spine. As soon as I sit, it goes way up because we're not designed to sit. And actually what happens, speaking of gravity and that posture, is when we sit, it actually causes our pelvis to turn in a little bit. So that's why so many people who sit all day that have those jobs that are stuck at desks have low back pain. If they're working on a computer, they start to lose that curve in their neck and they start to get neck pain and headaches. How many people see people who walk around like this all day? So some of you definitely. You could share with them that they don't have to sit that way, that you could show them how to actually sit better and tell them that if they came to some of the classes that we offer here, we can teach them better, healthier habits and actually help improve the overall quality of their life. Because when you have poor posture, it actually compresses your internal organs and does not allow you to live as fully as you should. So how about bad food? So they did a study, I think it was like 2001 or 2002, and they said what happens to the blood flow of your body, and particularly to your brain, depending on what you eat. Guess what happened when someone ate like a Big Mac or something along the lines of a Big Mac? Do you think their blood flow stayed the same? Do you think it went up? Do you think it went down?
Decreased.
So it decreased. So how much do you think it probably would have went down by eating one fast food hamburger?
A lot.
50%, that would seem right. How about 85% for over 4 hours? So how many people say, I'm going to do the easy thing. I'm going to go to the fast food restaurant. I don't have time for lunch, so I'm going to get that burger because I don't have time to do anything else. And then they wonder why they can't be productive and why they're tired the rest of their day. They decrease the blood flow to their brain by 85%. That does not include if they got a soda with that burger, they got fries with that burger, or anything else. All of those actually decrease that blood flow even more. So imagine how much healthier we could be as a society and how much more alert we could be if we realized, well, let me pack lunch before I leave. Let me decide to make a couple healthier health style choices. And instead of going through the second half of your day or whenever you happen to run out and get that fast food, with your brain literally working at 15% of the oxygen it's supposed to have, it works at 100%. I think that might be a good thing. So how about failing to learn how to properly care for your spine from birth? And that may sound familiar to you who have just recently started care, because that's one of the things that we actually talk about right in the beginning, because that's why the education is the very most important part. Because if we don't teach people how to be healthy literally from birth, then they can go 20, 30, 40, 50 years with these bad health style habits that they don't even know are bad for them the entire time breaking down. So someone here today, you might be able to tell because I have a couple kids here, is actually getting all their kids checked. How awesome is that? I love that. So thank you for doing that, because you're giving them the opportunity to not be an adult with all these health issues, because we're going to take care of things now. That's awesome. There we go. So how can we fix it? How can we reconnect your brain to your body? I know what everybody wants to say. We're going to get there. Don't go to the punchline yet. So how about eating right? We talked about that. If you have good food, then your body works better. Doctor actually teaches a couple of different classes about the healthy food that you should eat. We had a guest speaker a couple of weeks ago who actually taught a class on a detoxification program. I thought some of those people were going to be here. They didn't make it. Either way, both couples who have started it, the ones who wanted to lose weight already have. They feel much more alive. They have a lot more energy than they did just 10 days ago, because the program actually helps teach you how to eat at the same time of dumping all that junk that we put in our bodies for most of our lives. Getting regular exercise. So this is one of the things, there's a list of 4 things that if you change those in your life, you can increase your health by over 14 years. Exercising on a regular basis is one of the most important ones. And the most recent recommendation is that you actually have to have upwards of 6.5 hours of exercise over the course of the week. So that works out to somewhere around 45 minutes, 6 days a week. That doesn't work out, so it must be less than that. My math is wrong. It's 4.5 hours. Sorry about that. But about 45 minutes, 3.5, 6 days of the week. That way you're always increasing your body's metabolism. It actually will help increase your lifespan by 14 years. So if you didn't have a good enough reason to work out, maybe that'll be it. Great posture. We talked about how bad posture breaks you down. Great posture actually helps your entire body work better for your entire life. Enough sleep. This is incredibly important, especially to all of us who are stressed throughout life and throughout the day, because when we sleep is when your body actually repairs itself. So how many people get 5 hours of sleep a night? Raise your hands. Nobody gets 5? 5 or more, I should say. 5 or more. Okay, less than 5? Okay, how about 7 or 8? So we're somewhere in the range. So the average child needs somewhere between 7 and 9 hours. The average adult needs somewhere between 6 and 8. It all depends on the individual, but that proper sleep is what allows your body to actually function properly throughout the day. Great stress management, because if you take that stress and you don't have a way to change it to help it be different, then it's going to keep breaking you down. So whether that's, depending on your faith beliefs, if you go to church, if you pray, if you want to meditate, do yoga, exercise actually can help with some of that stress. And we have very specific classes for that. So if that's something you are challenged with, definitely come to the class that we work on stress. And engaging in learning how to properly care for your spine and teaching your kids from birth. Because if we don't teach the next generation how to be healthier, how could they possibly be healthier? Do you think we're living longer as a society compared to our grandparents? Or do you think our kids are living less compared to us? So the average life expectancy, some of you shook your head, you may not know this, is actually going down. Because we're teaching our kids the bad health habits that we didn't know were bad in the first place. And on average, if we don't make those changes, and everybody sitting here is already making those changes, so that is awesome and incredible. If we don't make those changes, then we're going to keep getting less healthy and keep getting sicker and sicker as a society. So don't just teach your family, teach your kids, share it with other people, because there's people that are out there that think going to McDonald's is a good thing. My uncle told me a couple of years ago, he says, I have a really healthy breakfast every day. I go to McDonald's, I get an Egg McMuffin. It has my egg for my protein, it has the whatever the breading is on it for my grain, it has cheese. It's really healthy for me. He honestly believed that. He doesn't anymore, but because he thought it had all those different steps, he thought that was healthy. And there's a lot of people out there that think that's a healthy thing to do. So the pathway to health, and this is the safety pin itself. So we did talk about how the brain does connect with every single cell in your body if it's working properly. And if it's not, then things can go awry. But functioning on working properly means that all the cells in your body are communicating the way they should. The speed of life, or the average speed of communication your body actually has, is about 270 miles an hour. So from the moment I think about opening the safety pin to opening that safety pin, that nerve impulse or that thought goes to my hand at 270 miles an hour. So it's not instantaneous, but it sure feels like it. I don't know, hopefully none of you have ever driven at 270 miles an hour. Probably if you've flown, maybe you've been there. It also makes everything in your body actually work better. The thing that the adjustment does when it reconnects that is it actually helps your body get to what's called homeostasis, or basically everything is working exactly as it should. It's not working overtime like in people with diseases where their immune system attacks them, and it's not working too little like people who are sick all the time. However, if you break that communication, just think about some of the things that can happen. We can have anything from numbness, tingling, poor health, any kind of frequent illness, headaches, indigestion, constipation, cramping. The list goes on and on and on. Literally, if we understand the way the body works, every single symptom that you could possibly think of can be linked to your brain and your body not communicating with itself. So we have a quick video, hopefully it'll work, to kind of drive the point home about making those healthy lifestyle choices.
What will your last 10 years look like? Will you be quick enough for a game of tag with your grandchild? Strong enough to embrace every moment? Will you grow old with vitality? Or get old with disease? It's time to decide.
Won't get smaller. Oh, well, Dr. Ashley, can you make that smaller?
Yeah,
Thank you.
hold on.
So what does everybody think about that?
I don't understand how having a chiropractor, like, I understand it's very helpful, but I don't understand how it can change from being able to run around and climb a lot of steps.
It's a great question.
To being in bed all day.
One of the big differences between most chiropractors and most medical doctors is we seek to help you learn how to be healthier. So it's not just simply the adjustment itself and reconnecting your brain to your body, although that's the most important. What it really is making sure that you're making all those healthy lifestyle choices. So think back to that first picture that we started with about 25 minutes ago. Are you going to make the choice that might be a little bit more difficult at the moment, but it's going to give you a much greater expression and experience in life? Or are you going to make the choice that might seem a little bit easier? So getting adjusted is absolutely important, because every single time you have that break, that you have that subluxation, it decreases the nerve flow or that communication or life force by a minimum of 60%. If you have any aches, any soreness, any headaches, any symptoms, most of the time that means you actually have more than 60% of shut off of that nerve flow. So think about how heavy that safety pin is in your hand. It's about the same or lighter than a dime. That's all the pressure it takes on a nerve to cut it down by 60% to allow it to function the way it should. So when you make those healthy lifestyle choices, whether it's eating a little bit healthier, drinking a little bit more water, going to bed instead of watching the late show, or getting adjusted and reconnecting your brain to your body, every single one of those things adds to it, and every single one of those things helps you be healthier. So the only way that I know to be 100% sure to know that your brain and your body are not disconnected, that communication system is not broken, because symptoms don't cut it. If we base our life off of symptoms, people with things like cancer and heart disease don't know for 20 to 30 years on average. If we want to base it off of things like aches and pains and arthritis that we think is supposed to be normal, it takes 20 to 30 years for arthritis to build up enough to create a symptom in your body. So that's why we never say, wait to go to the doctor till you don't feel good, but go before, because if we can help you learn how to be healthier and help you make those better choices, then you can easily be the version of the older gentleman who could go through life and do everything he wanted. I had a perfect example of this in my life. I have had two grandmothers, and now have one. One ended up in the nursing home because she didn't know to make the better health style choices. The other one had her entire backyard, which is probably was the size of this parking lot. It's huge. Was all a garden. She grew all her own food. She was out working it every single day. She was active her entire life, so she was making those better health style choices, and she's still with us. Whereas, unfortunately, my other grandmother is not, because no one ever told her how to be healthier. So the only way that I know to make sure that everything is working is getting your spine checked. Everyone here is, or will soon as of tomorrow, actually be under chiropractic care, having their spine checked to see what we can do to help with that. But really, literally, any person that you have the opportunity to share this information with, you have the opportunity to help them have a more fulfilled life. Whether that adds 14 years to their life or adds the ability for them to be healthier and just play with their kids more and be able to do what they want to do more in life. They cannot do that if they have subluxations in their body. A chiropractor is the only one that reconnects you to your source, whether that source be your brain or that source be a higher power, depending on your faith beliefs. One of the oldest and most important sayings in chiropractic is the way that the body heals. It heals from above down, inside out. Because if we do not connect you to that source, there's no possible way that you can live the abundant life that you're designed to live. So please share something you learned tonight with someone you know or everybody you know. Because if you don't do it, who is going to share with them? And if you don't do it now, when are you going to do it? You can literally save a life just by sharing some of the information. And as a bonus, getting checked in our office is always our gift. It's probably the most important thing and most valuable thing we do all day. And we always give it away. Because we want people to have the opportunity to learn to be healthier without ever really having to commit to anything but a few minutes at a time. All right. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to turn this off. And then, does anybody have any questions?